Don't you just hate it when you've got a problem and you go to somebody and nobody takes responsibility, or they don't have accountability, they just sort of pass it on to someone else? Well, there are ways to sort of build and change that. Emily Madill is a best-selling children's author and a consultant to WNDB's Marc Bernier program. And from time to time, we chat about these things, hoping to give you some tools to work with not only yourself, your family, but perhaps your children. Emily joins us now live today on WNDB. Hi, Emily.
Hi, Mark.
Okay, I want to jump, if you don't mind, right into what you recently went through. Because to me, that gripped me when I read the account. You did a trip, I guess you went to Arizona, and you had some flight difficulties. Take our audience through your surprise at what happened.
Okay. Well, Mark, we were, like you said, heading down to Arizona, to the land of the sun. And, my main concern when we're traveling is, safety first. And so, delays are a part of the traveling process. But what happened was interesting because our delay wasn't due to weather. It was due to a fueling kind of issue. And so when we arrived at our layover destination, we were expecting to get onto the next plane to head down to Arizona. And instead, because of that delay, we missed our flight. And so we kind of knew that when we arrived that, yes, we were missing our flight. And, we were kind of like, oh, well, we'll have to make the most of it and maybe we'll have a short delay. So we made our way to the airline help desk. And it was interesting because I had already kind of made up in my mind, oh, well, go with the flow. This is the way, travel experiences go. But when we were met with the lady at the help desk, she was just extremely defensive, curt and rude, and just immediately was like, well, it's not our problem. You're going to have to, sort yourselves out. Here's your, there's actually no flights going out. It was only 6:30 p.m., but there's no more flights going out, so your next flight will be tomorrow morning. You'll have to be at the airport at 4 a.m. Here's your boarding passes, and, bye-bye. And we were kind of like, just her tone and how she really wasn't taking accountability on behalf of the airline, which really was her position. She was, at the help desk, just kind of really took us aback. And so, on our own dime, we went and got a hotel room, and we thought, this just doesn't feel right. So we decided to phone the 1-800 number and talk to the airline. And the lady on the other line took the exact opposite stance. She was very apologetic on behalf of the airline, and, she couldn't really say one way or another whether or not we would get reimbursed for our night, but she really just took accountability for the situation. It was kind of like, yeah, that's just a crummy space to be in, and, I'm really sorry that this has happened to you guys on your vacation and on your way down. And I just found it really interesting because that was really all that she needed to say. Like, we just kind of felt better about it, and it was just a great example.
It took the sting out of it.
Pardon me?
It took the sting out of it.
It took the sting out of it, and it was kind of like, yeah, that's all you want to hear. It certainly wasn't our fault. Like, we showed up where we were, and, of course, yes, there are risks and things in travel, and, the main concern is to arrive safely, but, we didn't plan on, like, it wasn't our, like, we weren't accountable for being late. We were on time for our flights and everything.
I'm sure, Emily, the audience is probably curious, was this a technical problem that caused the flight delay, or did they have trouble assembling a crew? We've heard about that. Was it something that was related to the airline?
It was something related to the airline. Well, this is what happened, Mark.
They should have paid.
The gas truck ran out of gas. And so the gas truck had to go to the gas station, like I've never even heard of this, to fill up the truck and then come back. Meanwhile, we're all sitting on the tarmac waiting for our plane to be fueled. So it wasn't like there was, something wrong with the plane, which obviously it's like, yes, we just want to arrive safely. But, it was just, which again, it was kind of like, these things happen, right?
Yeah.
And so, but all we needed to, it was just interesting to be met with, a representative that was rude and like, this isn't my problem, like, see you later, and don't even bother phoning us, to the exact opposite stance was like, geez, we're sorry, and, if we can do anything to you, we'll make it up to you, and, we really, I empathize with your situation. And so it was just a really great example of, corporations and businesses just building bridges instead of roadblocks, just taking that accountable stance and being, because we all do mess up, things happen, but it's like when we take ownership of that and present that forward, it felt a lot.
The reason I jumped out with that and asked you
Yeah.
that first was because, there's so many reasons why flights are delayed. Weather, I can understand. That's not the airline's fault. But something that relates to staffing, the equipment, or an inability to gas up, that's on them. And they could have been a lot nicer. So, we talk about accountability. Even if it wasn't the airline's fault or responsibility, the customer is always right. To me, this is a PR nightmare for you and your party, because I'm thinking if you have other options, you might consider using a different airline because of the way you were treated, right?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't use that particular, well, I wouldn't go that route again.
Yeah, using
Yeah.
losing that connector. Okay,
Yeah.
so you, and I know you're going through a professional coaching program through Ericsson International. It's ICF accredited. What are you hoping that this is going to teach you? How to teach others to be more appreciative? Because we're going to talk about 3 different potential people that you'll deal with. Is that what this does? It gives you the training so you can spot people who do this so that others do not do the same thing?
Well, basically the coaching program is, just assisting people to get that next level in their lives. So it's not a counseling profession, and it's not a telling kind of, a teaching thing. It's just kind of assisting people to, you really do have to have accountable people to step up to the plate in order to enter into a coaching relationship. So yeah, it's just learning the tools in how to assist people in doing, in getting that next level of whatever goal they're after in life.
Okay, let's talk about the types of people that you come into contact with as potential clients. There are 3 different ones. Let's talk about what separates them. Number 1 is the complainer.
Yes. So the complainer are the people that focus on, what they don't want, and they don't see that results are possible. So these are the people that really, in my opinion, it's, life happens to me, right? It's like they're not coming from an accountable position. It's like, oh, this is so terrible, everything's going wrong, and not really seeing the role that they may play in it, or in seeing that, sometimes the role that we play in it is just in how we react to things, right? Because sometimes things do happen that are beyond our control, but how we react is the accountable stance.
So what are options when you're dealing with a person who would be identified as a complainer?
Well, from a coaching profession, generally, I don't think we would enter into a coaching relationship, really. Like there's, because if people aren't accountable and aren't ready to, because it really is, they need to take the initiative in their own lives in this kind of relationship. So if they aren't coming from that place, it's just kind of a waste of time on both, for both parties. So, yeah.
Tell us about the visitor.
Well, the visitors are people who, somebody else has sent them. So they're not necessarily taking ownership or responsibility, and, they may or may not be taking an accountable position. Like sometimes workplaces will offer coaching services to their employees, and so in that case, they may, send an employee over, and so I guess it's, up to the coach and that employee to kind of figure out in the first stages, like, do they want to be there? Because, Mark, like, really, if you don't want to make change in your life, or if I don't want to make change in my life, like, it's not going to happen, in my opinion. Like, in order for anybody to really achieve something and to achieve that real success, we kind of have to want to do it on our own.
And you can spot that in a visitor. The most interesting I know that you found are the creators. Tell us about them.
Yeah, so the creators are the folks who kind of focus on what is in their control. So they look for, the positives in situation, and they're focused on the positives. So they're generally coming from an accountable, position, and they take ownership over their happiness. So those are the types of people that would be best suited to a coaching relationship. And, because they're eager to be coached, and they may not have the answers or, have the support or know what their next steps are, but they want to make those next steps in their life. So those are the people that really, they're more likely to, be, do, and have their dreams actualized because they're really taking the bull by the horn, so to speak. So yeah, and on a personal level too, like people that are accountable are just they're generally more enjoyable to be around because they're not complaining all the time, and they're not using you as like a doormat in friendships. And of course there are times when people are, we're all entitled to have, different feelings, and these aren't people that are robots. Like, they do have feelings, but it's just when push comes to shove, they're going to take responsibility for themselves. So those are the creators.
You say that accountable people tend to be the doers.
Yeah, because they are the people that, they take the initiative in their lives to go after what it is they want, and it's not just that. It's like, things can happen in life too, like roadblocks. We've talked about this, are presented for everybody. Like, we're all human and we all make mistakes. And, people that are coming from, that are really honest with themselves and are able to approach life with a bit more accountability tend to, kind of weather through those a little bit better because they're looking for ways within themselves or support outside of themselves to get through it. They're not expecting somebody else to come in and fix it for them.
Now, I know there are people who are listening to us that are parents. They may be caregivers as well. It's interesting how some young people growing up might fit into one of these categories where they think that they're always the victim, or they may be on the more positive end of this. They may be the creators. I'm wondering, Emily, do you think that how we talk to young people sets the stage for them to be one of these three?
Absolutely. I'm a parent as well, and I think, the main kind of foundation that I believe that we need to build with our kids is just for them to feel that they're loved and they're worthy of love and belonging, and then, that's always going to be there. No matter what you do, that stays. And then from there, it's kind of like they do need to be held accountable for, and have consequences and to be able to experience what that is like, or else, how, and I think how we show up as parents and caregivers also gives them that example. Like, if we are owning up to things and, not always passing the buck or passing the blame, on our partners or on our kids or whatever, I think, that's the biggest thing that they're learning from too. So
one of the things, and people can read a lot about this at Emily's website, the outcome of our efforts is never guaranteed in life. How we feel about who we are and how we choose to show up is what makes the ride worthwhile. Is that something that you share, a very personal story that people can read online about gaining the courage and confidence to shine authentically? You tell your story of a first marriage and then how you changed your life. You were only married for 1 year. Did this last sentence philosophy come out as a result of that experience that you had when you made the changes in your life?
Yes, absolutely. It's that and probably my upbringing too. But, I think any time that we go through a life-changing experience, whether that's divorce, having somebody we love pass away, having children, losing a job, whatever it is, we're kind of presented with, I like to look at it as an opportunity for growth. And so it doesn't mean that I didn't, it was pretty devastating, having that happen, and it wasn't my choice to have the marriage end. And so, but just kind of, I just really felt, it was a crossroads. So I could have sat there and been, really bitter and, become a victim and, be like, well, I'm not going to trust other people if this was what's happened to me. But instead, I took, baby steps to, build myself back up. And going through that process, it just really, I guess, kind of, developed my resiliency. And yeah, it really did shape my mindset and outlook on life, and that things are going to happen. They happen all the time, not just divorce, but people pass away, all of those things. And so it doesn't mean we're not supposed to, feel the emotion of that, but it's sit in it for a while and then do what you can so you don't get stuck in it. Because I think, when we become stuck in things for too long, it's when, it becomes harder to take an accountable position in our lives, and it becomes more difficult to move forward.
When people want to make changes, it can be a scary thing. Was it difficult for you to, change the way you were approaching things? How did you overcome the fear? Or maybe you didn't have fear. Some people do have fear.
Yeah, no, you know me. I definitely had fear. And, I think it was just baby steps. And, you and I have talked about, like, visualization in previous discussions. And for me, I kind of I just had a ritual of running every morning. And so without really realizing that's what I was doing, that is what I was doing. Like, I would run just to kind of clear my head. But while I was running, I would just kind of I don't know, probably because it was really dark in the morning and rainy, and just to kind of take my mind off of the running, I would kind of visualize, the end goal. Like, I had gone back to university after my divorce, and I was working full time. And so I just really imagined, what it would feel like to be up on the podium. I imagined, what it would be like if I met somebody else and, and had the family that I so badly wanted, and and kind of just telling myself that I did deserve those things. So I would do that on my daily runs. And so, bit by bit, I guess, without really realizing that is what I was doing, I was building myself up. And there were opportunities presented to me, that I didn't take, and then not taking them and feeling what that felt like how I kind of limited myself. I would just, next time an opportunity was presented, I would kind of figure out what I needed to do in order to just be brave and take that leap of faith to go after things.
Our societies are just so busy, and people are juggling sometimes multiple jobs, raising families, that sometimes we fail to take that quiet time, that time to exercise, and that time to be at peace. We know that you do yoga and other things. Did you find that made a great difference in your long-term feeling when you made sure you took that quiet time and that time away from all the responsibilities so as to not lose yourself?
Yeah, I think it's key. And it is something that I still do every day. And if I go, for a couple of days without taking that time, I kind of start feeling a bit lost and frantic, and my thoughts can kind of get away with me. So I definitely think, being connected and having that self-awareness is what really helps us to be honest with ourselves. And I think, getting back to the accountability, that honest and accountability do go hand in hand, because if we're truly being honest with ourselves in pretty much any situation, if something happens, if we're being honest with ourselves, we're going to own up to our mistakes. We're going to be like, geez, I'm really sorry. And if we're not being honest with ourselves, myself included, it becomes easier to kind of justify things and to kind of pass the buck, right? So, yes. I do think taking that quiet time is a really beneficial thing to help you have that self-awareness and connection and honesty with yourself.
One last thing, to make full circle on this, on the accountability angle where, some people are not accountable, they don't take responsibility. Is it something that you can change? If a person has lived their life not taking responsibility, can a series of things that a person employs change them so that it's got to really change in their heart, don't you think? That's the first step.
Yeah, I mean, you know me, I'm a bit of a soft-hearted person that way, and I just do believe in my heart that, yes, if you're human, you can change. I do believe that. I know a lot of people don't believe that, but I do 100% believe that. And, even what we were talking about last week about Sean Acor's happiness challenge, it's a 21-day challenge. So, I love chatting with people and challenging people that are so stuck in their ways, because I do come across people of all different ages that are like, well, they've just become kind of bitter and set in their ways, and they more than I just feel sad when I come across people that way, because they're only hurting themselves,
Yeah.
by not allowing themselves to experience happiness. And I do think, I'm not saying there's a magic pill or a magic wand or a magic whatever to try to reach those people, but I do think that if people, are inspired in just the right way and, can shift things, there's probably a combination of things, but, and get that support, that, I really do believe that.
I'm going to take a giant leap of faith here. I'm going to give you a homework assignment.
Okay.
Don't kill me. How do you reverse, and this could be for next time or another time, how do you reverse bitterness? Because I think that it follows. You don't have to answer right now. But how does one reverse bitterness in another? Can it be done? I think it can. So that's my challenge to you. But you always come up with great stuff anyway. So we're inviting our listeners to go to EmilyMadill.com. They can read. I strongly encourage people to read what I just talked about. Is that your most recent posting? What I read?
That one's not up there yet, but I'll put it up there just for you, Mark. I actually submitted it somewhere else, but I'll put it up there.
It's a good one. It's a touching one, and I think it could inspire a lot of people. And you should take a look at the books that Emily has written, because you'll find about accountability, and there are lessons in there. The Grateful Jake series, the Grateful Jake resource book, Captain Joe series, which was designed as a tool for adults to teach children about constructive imagination. All of that, the teaching resources, and Sam's Magic Mirror, which is about living authentically and in the moment to overcome limiting beliefs. Emily Madill, our guest once again today on WNDB. Emily, we sincerely thank you for your time. Always a pleasure.
Yep, you too. Thank you, Mark.
Okay, see ya.
Bye. Have a good day.
You too.